So I've started the recording. Welcome everyone. So I, I think it's open. People who would like to share today that whatever they've been reading, their practical sharings, life situations, anything. Most welcome. Yes, Chitraji, would you like to share first?
Yeah, okay. About the faith you sent, no, about the same thing actually. I read it in a book that Great Steps in the Sadhana of Integral Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then the faith demanded of us both in its general principle and its constant particular application. I think these are the words of Sri Aurobindo or Mother. Let's see. Yeah, Sri Aurobindo. The faith demanded of us both in its general principle and its constant particular application amounts to a large and ever increasing and a constantly purer, fuller, and stronger ascent of the whole being and all its parts to the presence and guidance of God and the Shakti. As you said, same thing, ever increasing and a constantly, yeah, the faith in the Shakti, as long as we are not aware of and filled with their presence, must necessarily be preceded or at least accompanied by a firm and viril faith. VIRILE. What is that
Mm.
meaning? Viril.
Verily,
Verily, yeah. VIRILE.
verily
Mm,
means certainly.
okay. Before we, I mean, we are very sure about the faith in the Shakti, we should have our own faith, it seems. Real faith in our own spiritual will and energy and our power to move successfully towards unity and freedom and perfection. Man is given faith in himself, his ideas, and his powers, that he may work and create and rise to greater things, and in the end bring his strength as a worthy offering to the altar of the Spirit. This Spirit, says the scripture, is not to be won by the weak. Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhya. All paralyzing self distrust has to be discouraged. All doubt of our strength to accomplish, for that is a false assent to impotence, an
Mm.
imagination of weakness, and a denial of the omnipotence of the Spirit. A present incapacity, however heavy may seem its pressure, is only a trial of faith and a temporary difficulty. And to yield to the sense of inability is for the seeker of the integral yoga a nonsense. For his object is a development of a perfection that is there already. It is
Mm.
already there, yeah, latent in the being, because man carries the seed of the divine life in himself, in his own spirit. The possibility of success is involved and implied in the effort, and victory is assured because behind is the call and guidance of an omnipotent power.
Mm.
That's
Beautiful.
all. Yeah. He emphasized about the faith only, Faith,
Mm.
faith, faith. Yeah. So when I watched your thing, I wondered actually.
Mm. Yeah.
This I read last week, actually, so I thought I can share with the group.
Yeah. I, so when we go through situations which are really challenging in nature, doubt, self-doubt comes, and I've seen shame also comes, because there are moments which are unconscious, and because of uh, being unconscious, we fall into a situation which we may not really like to be in, but yet we are in that situation. So there is shame also that comes,
Mm,
shame, guilt may come, yet
mm,
they all have to be just discarded, and one has to just
mm,
gather all the strength, be
mm,
in faith, and just move on.
mm,
Otherwise, guilt and shame are such a trap,
mm.
such a trap.
Yeah. Though it seems to be lost sometime, but as you said, no, that central faith always In my case also, even there are so many doubts. Sometimes it will, it will give you some obstacles in the path, the doubts, especially. But that central faith, always will come back immediately. Immediately.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
Mm. So I thought of it actually. I analyzed it also.
Mm,
When I lost the faith, no, it is not actually.
yeah.
For a long time, it is not.
Mm. It's also interesting how these situations are molding us and shaping us.
Mm.
And if they don't shape us, like us, if a person is making a sculpture out of a rock or a stone,
Yeah,
he has to carve and put the hammer here, there, here, there.
correct.
And just like that, I think Sri Aurobindo or Mother, one of them has also said that it's as if the divine is sculpting you,
Yeah,
making you,
correct. Yeah.
reshaping you. So
Mm.
it is not possible that it does not pain, it does not
Yeah.
hurt. And yet, one just in faith, one goes through that pain and hurt and learns the lessons and moves towards, further maturity and ripening, more
Mm.
consecration.
Correct.
Even I think one may not even be surrendered to the divine in a conscious way, yet
Mm.
these experiences make the ego more softer and softer and softer.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, this is what my husband used to tell. He is a total materialistic man.
Mm.
He used to tell because her daughter refused to get married and go for any job. He used to tell, I have lot of ego with my daughter
Mm.
and expectations, but everything is gone now. He used to.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah, as you told, it is very correct
yeah.
actually. It's slowly molding. That long, dim preparation is man's journey. In Savitri, he used to,
Savitri.
yeah, yeah. I used to remember whenever my husband used to lament like that, I used to remember that line, long, dim preparation, man's.
Mm. Mm. It's really interesting to see how there are some days which are really full of light and a lightness
Yeah,
is there, more surrender is there, like everything is okay. And then again, one plunges into these phases
yeah,
of expecting demands and calculating all the mind's calculation games, planning for future, and then
yeah.
again, that feeling of burden comes in. Yeah,
No, actually, nowadays, no plan for the future at all. It is happening in my life,
so
actually.
nice. Yeah.
Really.
Mm, mm.
Can't plan.
Beautiful.
Like that. Yeah.
There was this monk who was questioned by a seeker. The seeker asked, "What should I uh, get? What should I get?" The question was in Hindi. "ऐसा क्या पाऊं?" What
Mm.
should I get or achieve by that I become so that I become contented? And that monk answered that, are you really crazy? Has anybody got contentment by
Mm.
getting something or achieving something?
Yeah.
Because the little we achieve, then more achievement is, kind of a desire comes, more achievement.
Yeah.
The little we get, then again more and more, more and
More.
more.
Yeah.
So he
It's
was saying,
true.
the monk was saying that when you don't want anything,
Mm.
then contentment comes. Contentment doesn't come by wanting more and more and achieving more and more. And it's true, it's very commonsensical also, and it's true. We have seen it in our lives that in the moments that we are not wanting anything, just being in the wherever
Yeah.
we are,
Yeah.
uh, life becomes suddenly lighter, full
Yeah.
of life. Yeah.
Then I am attending that session from Shri Aurobindo Society. Now they are taking that immunity,
Yeah.
immune yourself. Today the topic is Dr. Saumitra Basu about totally about that psychic being.
He talks about psychic
Yeah,
beings a lot.
yeah, today. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very nice.
So today you attended, or is it in the evening?
Yeah, yeah. For 5 days that is actually.
Okay.
Today is the fourth day.
That's
Tomorrow it is ending actually. Today he
okay.
take the topic about the psychic being to
Okay.
unite with that. How
Yes.
did yeah.
Yes. We did one workshop with him
Oh,
where he was talking Sakar Pondicherry,
okay.
and there he did us make us do a small exercise. It was really beautiful.
Okay.
So he said that let me just share with you the dimension of the psychic being, because
Ah,
it's not in the bodily dimension, it's the fourth dimension.
okay.
And he said that you close your eyes and focus your kind of a give your focus on the back side of your heart, and
Mm-hmm.
imagine that at your back there is another you standing.
Okay. Okay.
Then after that another you is standing. After
Okay.
that another person like you, another person like this, a chain of people is standing beyond you at the
Okay.
backside, and
Okay.
go until the last point where that person who is standing last in the row appears like a dot.
Ah,
Okay, so
okay.
this is a as if I'm Monica, and there is
Mm.
a chain of Monicas, in
Mm-hmm.
this queue beyond me. And
Okay.
now what you do is you just dissolve the whole chain and
Okay.
focus on the last dot that is there in that line.
Okay.
Now bring that little dot closer and closer and closer to yourself from the backside.
Okay.
And that dot, which now obviously is a bigger person, that dot like occupies your body. So it's that dimension, and it was really beautiful. I did it many a times, and one really, I think there is something to this exercise. It's a very powerful exercise. That was a hint that he gave towards psychic healing.
Today he said through mind also you can concentrate, or it is heart. Through heart, even there are a lot of disturbances and lot of worries, everything let it be. But you go inside deeply into the heart
Yeah.
because it is easy. Mind you have to control your thoughts, but in the heart it is not necessary. He told
Mm. You
very
change
nice.
the dimension again.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the mind, there is this
Mm.
thing, two lines by a person where he says that डोर को सुलझा रहा है और सिरा मिलता नहीं, means that you're trying to resolve a confused thread and you
Mm.
don't have any of the ends in the hand. How would you resolve it?
Mm.
Life sometimes becomes so complicated, but then
Yeah.
then one has to just step outside, of the whole game, and everything seems sorted. So Mohit and Preeti, would you like to share anything? We're just generally talking about experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. One second, I'll just switch on my video. Good morning. I am not really working in the method that you work, right? The way you work with Aurobindo and Mother, but I have noticed that there's a concept called Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is also the cessation of the fluctuation of consciousness. So I am noticing, especially when I'm doing some very deep practice every Wednesday, we do a long practice for a couple of hours. So the mind, it comes into a state of little, I would say the fluctuations are less. And I'm realizing the moment there that, and it stays for a couple of hours. After that, the emotional disturbances, the mental distraction, they're all gone. Somehow they're just not there. and one can just continue to be in, and one is less affected by the gravities of external life. So I spoke to my teacher that, ma'am, I think the way you keep on taking classes week after week, year after year, decade after decade, it really requires a balanced consciousness. If we are always, getting either other, it doesn't work. So it's very important. And another thing that struck me, and I think I became very free of that. One of my teachers, he was talking that why do we need multiple lives? Like, people want to achieve samadhi or liberation, everything, as if it's like a purpose. And, but this is such a vast subject that one life is not enough. It's a very fascinating subject. You just go into it deeper and deeper, and there's a lot to explore. Once I heard that from him, at some level in my unconscious, it was like, I have to do something ki isi life mein kuch to chahiye, liberation chahiye, kuch, enlightenment chahiye. I was suddenly free of that concept, and it gave me a lot of peace. Yeah, one should just do work and just let things be. Yeah. Because even that can become a crutch, no? To achieve that, to वो चाहिए मेरे को इस life में ही चाहिए कैसा भी करके और
Actually, basically, we find ourselves running, है ना? So it can be a spiritual direction where I now cling to this running, or a material direction. Running is not stopping, basically. So yeah, you're right. Very, very true. Preeti, you wanted to share?
I'm very confused. Actually, remember last time where we stopped about the prostitute and the saint story? And I
Yeah.
wanted to ask then, that means that every person who would be doing wrong can just get away by saying that the same, kind of reasoning. Like even a trader can then just say कि मैं तो अपने बच्चों के पेट पालना है मुझे घर का और तो मैं थोड़ा बहुत cheat कर लेता हूँ.
Yeah, yeah.
I do unfair practice.
Yeah.
So how do we justify that?
Yeah, so what I wanted to share there was that every story has a metaphorical meaning. It's not like literally verse by verse. So the metaphorical meaning that story had was, what matters is the inner state. And if the inner state is one with the divine, everything is a step, as a ladder, has a steps towards furthering human evolution. And but if the inner state is not towards the divine, not towards one's truth, one's reality, then everything that we do, even spiritual tasks, are nothing but pretense, a hypocrisy. If I'm doing anything with a sense of an ego, even spirituality is a big burden. It's a big, big burden. Yeah. So I think why I took up that story was this inner state of being matters, whether I'm doing jhadu, pocha, or attending to something which is maybe ugly in people's reception or perception. What is my inner state? What is my inner state? I think that is
Okay.
what the story was hinting at.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, I've heard this story many times. So I just wanted to, maintaining that thought right now. The other thing, we keep hearing and reading that अगर आपको किसी और में वो चीज दिखती है इसका मतलब वो आप में ही है जो आपको ठीक करनी है या it's within you also.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There is. I'll just take a live example because it's or maybe it's asking or reminding me to be a little more accepting and letting go. There is this lady whom I've recently met, and again, like you say, na, अंदर में वो भाव होना चाहिए कि you are spiritually inclined. She shows all that. but externally she's talking very rudely to her own child, or she's even hitting him and not taking care, like young careless mother. But वो है ना कि आजकल सभी लोग इतना spirituality की बात
Yeah, we
want to
lost you.
understand why that I'm able to see that so starkly within her. And, I mean,
Sorry, we lost you in between.
going
Can
back
you say
to
it again?
the same thing कि जब कहते हैं कि आप किसी और में either there are two ways of it. I'm कि आपको इतना दिख रहा, I don't know. I'm confused.
हाँ, एक बार प्रीति, can you share your story
Seeing
again? Your
that
story again, because we lost you in between.
in her. Okay, there's a lady who's like 30, 32, 33, and she has she's into Vastu Shastra and numerology and all that. So she's inclined towards those studies. She also believes in, but she talks about spirituality and that. But in her how and in her practices, in her daily living, she's very confident. And I've also seen her talk rudely to a very small child. Her own child hit him also at times. And I mean, it's very dual personality that I see. Why am I seeing that?
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
mean, is it just
Yeah, I think this is really nice that you bring this up. We want to have oneness, right? We crave for this oneness, yet we are not there. We are in parts and pieces. At one time, I myself, you're right when you say that in other people we see as a mirror, because I myself also see that at a particular time I'm being very kind, but yet to another person or somebody else, yes, unkindness is still there. So I myself see that I am neither completely kind, neither completely unkind. There are as if bits and pieces of me. Sometimes I am in light, sometimes I see myself in darkness. Sometimes I raise my voice in anger, and yet sometimes I am very mellow. I don't raise my voice. And these are nothing but parts of me. And this is why we talk about integral yoga. Otherwise, where is yoga needed if all the union is already achieved? Right? This is what is the mirror, that the other person is also a divided fellow. And I am also a divided fellow. Am I able to see that too? Because at once I say that I am not hypocritical, yet at other places I see that yes, I become hypocritical, right? So sometimes I am able to be completely transparent to a person, to another person I am not able to be transparent, I hide my feelings. So this dualities, all these oppositions are present in our nature at the moment. And this is what transformation of nature is meant when Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about it. A union, all the bits and pieces scattered together, which are right now, they move, as if they move towards light. All of them move towards light. And having said that, I would say all these are pieces of me, yet I am beyond all that. I am not defined by my kindness or my unkindness. What I am truly is beyond all that. And that gives me the power to hold everything as space holds everything. I can hold kindness someday. Someday I can hold
it's like a
unkindness.
real test? Hmm.
Yes, yes. It's a test. Yeah. Beautiful. And this is
It
how
can become
compassion
so
comes forward.
disturbing sometimes. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It becomes disturbing, yes, many a times. Yes, Mohit would like to share?
अच्छा,
Yeah, yeah.
आज
Actually,
आवाज बहुत कट रही है. Something
हाँ,
wrong with
आपकी
the.
आवाज कट रही है आज, yeah.
what you are talking about, that there are different parts of me. So So when we practice yoga, for example, this is my hand. There's a front part of the hand. There's a back part. There's the side and there's the side. But in nature, if I take any object, it doesn't have any front and back and side, right? If I see a tree, from whatever direction I see, but we give a concept, it's front and back. And what I notice, for example, when we stand, we either lean on the front, making the back, or we lean on the back. We are all so only one part is activated, but there's one part which goes into sleep. So some part is activized. But in the practice, can I be in such a state where everything is alive together? The front and the back, the conscious, unconscious, everything is all together in a state of vibrance, in a state of being alert. Then I don't have to hold on. I don't have to hang on to my part of the body, rest on a concept mentally. I can just be alert with everything and truly respond to a situation. And not leaning on to some concept or idea or you know but truly just have that awareness of everything and
Yes, yes.
and what said also was very interesting, that even that this all these bits and pieces, there is something beyond which can bring it together. Very beautiful.
It's very interesting what you were saying regarding the body, that it doesn't matter what kind of a inclination it is in, just this vibrational alertness is enough. And I think very truly it reflects how we go about life. At any moment in a point in time, if I become vibrantly alive to what is happening to me right now, I think that becomes a step ahead. That becomes a ladder, as if to move on in life. If I can, no matter in how much of darkness I find myself, it doesn't matter. We can begin from anywhere. No matter how much guilt I am trapped in, it doesn't matter how much shame, anger, hatred I am trapped in. Right now, if I choose to be alert to that which I call as jealousy, I think that creates this magic, that alertness about the whole situation, not wanting to shoo it away, not wanting to either want it and cling to it, just being completely present to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we go from concept to concept. You suppress one concept and you add another concept, which is supposedly a better concept, but it's still a concept.
And also, I feel that we also label, with this mind has capacity to label things. So when we are going through life situations, we keep on labeling it, right? We cannot go in a flow at all. We keep on labeling. Oh my God, this what is happening is bad. Oh, this is much good. This I read in that book and it was very spiritual. So this sounds really good. So we keep on labeling, and in that somehow that continuity, that alertness of being alive gets kind of lost somewhere. And we don't even realize how we get into this, as you were saying, from one concept to other. We just keep on hanging on, attaching ourselves to either this concept or other concept. Why? Because I just cannot be alive. So I was using this other example that day in a session, that somebody was asking that why do we need dharma when maybe. So she was saying that we need dharma in life. We need these rules and regulations in life. And I showed her an image. I said that imagine that you're going into an adventure, like in a forest. You do have a map. You do have a map. Yet you also have eyes. So if the map is saying that step ahead, and you see that if I step ahead, there is a big nala in front, there is a drain in front, I cannot step ahead. So what would you choose? Would you say it is written in the rule book, I can, yes, step ahead, or would you trust your eyes? So if I really truly begin to trust my essence, like where I am right now, the whole happening of movement of the being, then I need not actually depend on any rule book, any scripture, even scripture. Although scriptures tell us a lot of beautiful things, they take us again and again to our essence. Yet even then, if our eyes are fully awake, then no rule book will be necessary, right? Because I can see. But for a person who is really a lost one, lost case, that rule book can help in many, many ways. But in many ways, it can also be really disastrous, because if you cannot see what is in front, there is a new development, a big forest has come up, and the forest is nowhere on the map. So what would you do? Trust whom? Yeah.
It's really beautiful, Monica, as you said, yeah. Because I just now I read one word from mother actually. She used to conduct some like this meetings, no, spiritual meetings actually. It is in May 1912. She
Yes, yes.
spoke actually to speak again to the world the eternal word under a new form, adapted to its present mentality. So every time it is changing. As you said, there is no fixed rules and very
Beautiful.
beautiful, very beautiful.
had a friend, he had gone to America. It's a little funny story. So he used to go in a lift from the third floor to the ground floor. And that lift had a person, a lady who would, manage the lift for you. Well, she will press the buttons. And each time he will enter the lift, she would really nicely say, good morning, good afternoon. So he was very happy that people are so polite here. And then, so this went on for a few days, and he was very astonished about this, that we lack this in our own culture in India. On a Sunday, there was a Sunday, and that lady was off duty that day. And as he was walking out, he met her on the street, and she just looked at him and looked away, almost like rudely. So he was quite shocked, what he did, because he tried to tell her good morning, and she didn't respond. So he again met her in the next weekday in the lift, and she said, that day I saw you in the street, but when I tried to talk to you, you didn't even respond to me. He said, yeah, but that was my off day.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so either there's no connect as he was just telling the story. So I experienced the same thing when we go for a morning walk. I'm in Canada right now. So when we go for a walk, and if you're, I mean, it's a same park and you're walking in circles and you cross the same person, they don't even realize that they just met you in the first round and you wished good morning. It becomes just a habit in them, or the sense has, not really. They don't see, and the senses don't. Arey, I just saw this lady. I'm wishing her again.
Hmm.
So I've seen that behavior too.
Yeah.
Whereas we are so observant, हमें पूरा याद रहेगा कि I don't know, it's the same lady यही पहना हुआ था, and we tend to see a little more. Yeah, so just going back to that same example again because I want to put it to rest. बीच में बहुत crack कर रहा था. So that
Yes.
I understand that means that I have to work and be more accepting and get that feeling of oneness in me again. I mean, still I have to, of course, I'm nowhere right now. So is that the only thing that is just coming as a reminder in front of me?
आई थिंक प्रीति देखो
The
ना यहाँ पे ना
situation.
कोई भी I don't think there is a one particular formula here which will be applicable to this situation. If this situation is happening with each and every person, right? For you, this situation may bring something new. For me, if I go through this situation, the same situation will bring something else, right? So there is no particular formula, I would say. But yet, as we were discussing in Savitri that day, I think you were not there, abhi jo kal ki baat thi na. So we were talking about para prakriti and apara prakriti. So there is this mention of para prakriti and apara prakriti in Gita, and I took that little example shortly that Sri Krishna says that there is eightfold prakriti of mind, which is called inferior prakriti or apara prakriti. Anything which can be observed, anything which can be seen. I will put it in relation with your example that you are giving of this lady. So, what is apara prakriti? All that I can observe, I can see. Earth, water, fire, these basic five elements. And he adds on three further elements: man, buddhi, ahankar, mind, intellect, and the ego, the sense of pride, the sense of ego, the sense of this I tendency. So all this is part of prakriti, nature. Now he says there is another prakriti of mind, which is para prakriti, which is a little higher kind of prakriti, although it is still prakriti. That is this seeing aspect. So when this situation is happening with me or with Preeti, Preeti is looking at this play of elements, the bodies, and the play of mind, thoughts, the play of feelings. When this situation happens, when Preeti is confronted with this lady, and the play of egos under a clash, as if, right? So what is Preeti able to do? Preeti can observe all this is happening. When Preeti is able to do that, nothing, not wanting to learn anything out of that. Preeti is not interested in learning anything out of that. Preeti is just being an observer there. Like we read this story of two birds in Upanishads on a same tree, right? Most of us have heard about it. One is eating the fruit, enjoying the rasa. Other one is not enjoying the rasa. Other one is witnessing. So our basic day-to-day life can be rested with at least this observation wala aspect. This is just one of the tools, right? This is nothing special. One of the tools, because we get too much involved in the game that we lose this witnessing aspect. And then we find ourselves in a dungeon after some time. And immediately as I find myself in the dungeon, can I again separate myself? I think that is the challenge. I find it again and again in my life that, I lose this witnessing aspect. I get trapped in the situation. Yet I see that I have still the power, the free will to detach from it. Right? So nothing exactly, I would, there is no right and wrong to this particular situation that you are sharing. It's completely up to you, your life situation right now, what it wants to show you. For each one of us, the lesson will be different. And yet, being in the witnessing aspect, we get insights about our lessons. I think it kind of is a byproduct. The lessons are a byproduct.
Hmm.
Mother uses this, mother shares this quote with us, an aimless life is a miserable life. And I think I can relate with this at multiple levels, like even when we are talking about observation. So if I just give myself this little aim, okay, I will be observing. Very simple aim, nothing complicated about it. And yet I see I fail so many times, And the moment I fail, I become involved in the whole situation rather than observing. I see that misery comes. When mother says an aimless life is a miserable life, the moment the aim is kind of out of my sight, misery is about, it's there. I see it happening, right? And then again, it's on our free will, because the free will also has been granted to us so kindly that in any moment that I find myself in misery, I can again be there stationed in my aim, which is to observe. To observe that, yes, I'm going through jealousy. To observe that, yes, I'm going through worry or anger or hatred. Then the hatred and anger lose that grip or power over me. And, kind of uh, just like, for example, I use this example that maybe there is a spider on my wall. It doesn't bother me. No, I'm not involved with that spider. I just let it stay. Okay, stay as long as you want. It's your house. So just like that, then the moment I become observant to hatred as a spider, I say that, okay, I saw you and I see where you come from, but I don't have anything to do with you. You stay as long as you want. So then it becomes suddenly, a lightness comes, the burden is shed off.
But most of the time we act through our instinct, no? The immediately respond. Human beings. But we have to practice, as you told.
I think this is so true that we we are not able to just act in a rest, act through a
Mm.
rest, act from a rest. We are not able to do that. But in as much capacity as we become capable of doing it, many a times we can, and
Mm.
many a times there is just this impulsion,
Yeah.
just you just do it, and after 2 minutes you realize, oh my God, I again acted under an
Mm.
impulse. Yeah. And again, for different people, these impulses would come in a different way. And these are our sanskaras, right? These are our
Mm.
vrattis, as we say, tendencies. For Chitra ji, her vratti might be
Mm.
different, which will come in a particular situation. For me, it will be coming in a different situation with maybe a different person, right? So it's really interesting how this is weaved, this.
Yeah. Mm.
And one thing more, that the more we begin to become aware of our own bits and pieces. Like, yes, I see that it's not a union. It's like so many pieces scattered around and opposing nature, kind, unkind, and pleasure, pain, both are in me. The more compassionate I think we become towards other people's division, just as
Mm.
Preeti was sharing, that I see this division in her. And if I'm not aware of my own division, then that division will bother me. The more and more I become aware of my own division, that yes, this division does exist in me too, and I am working on it or whatever. I think the same compassion that we lend to ourselves, I see that I become more tolerant, if I can use the word tolerant, or compassionate,
Sympathetic. Yeah.
sympathetic, empathetic towards other person also. That yes, if this can happen with me, why cannot it happen with him? He is also a human being evolving. And the more we go through these negative emotions and become aware of it, for me it is happening that I'm able to then connect with other people's pain, or how would they feel when they are jealous? Because I have been through jealousy myself. How would they feel when they are rejected by a loved one? Because I have been there also in awareness. So I think this is really nice that the more we become aware of my own feelings, emotions, it gives us a chance to connect at a
Mm.
deeper level with the other person. Otherwise, only hello, hi, and we are done.
Yeah,
Right? Everything is
right.
good. Yeah.
Yes, and I was just listening to one person, and she meditates, and she said a lot of very strong emotion comes up when you meditate, and instead of suppressing it, if I can just look at those same emotions, whether good, bad, sometimes with compassion. So if I can look at that thing inside me with compassion, so I develop that for me, and then naturally for someone else also.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very good point. Yeah, that's really.
I think I'm also learning to own myself fully, like, completely in all my darkness and all the light parts, because the more we are able to own ourselves fully, that yes, these so-called negative emotions are also a part of me, just like the positives. I think the more I kind of also, as we were talking earlier, I see that I am neither defined by the positives nor defined by the negatives. I am as if a river is going and there are pebbles in the river. River is not defined by the pebbles, either of good sort or bad sort or the weeds in the river. River is in a continuous flow. And just like that, I think this is really, this tells me that we are alive, that there is so much movement going on, like, the ups and downs and the sometimes a dark period, sometimes a light period, and everything is welcome, everything is allowed. And if I don't abandon any of these parts, it also connects us with a greater strength, which we can label as maybe divine strength, because in true essence we are limitless beings. We are not defined by the limits of emotions, we are not defined by the limits of thoughts, yet we are all that.
Yeah.
So it also connects me to a greater strength, that yes, I can go through all that and none of this defines me. Yeah. And then I can, if I continue with that, I do a lot of continuing. If I continue with that, then I see that then there is this a kind of a nobodiness appears. Like, I don't, I'm neither here nor there, not wanting to label myself, not wanting either to say that, oh, I am the unlabeled one, not even going there. So there is again a lightness, there is a lightness in the being, that nothing else is needed. This flow of life is enough. Yeah. And then gratitude comes as a byproduct. One doesn't even have to cultivate it, it comes as a byproduct.
And also this integral yoga practice brings you out all the thing, no? Sometimes it is really fearful to see so
Yeah.
many. Yeah.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Mother and Sharbindo gave a lot about that. There is a book also called, no, many our many selves.
Yes.
Yeah. Each and everything we have to take it out and surrender. As you told, it is a lifelong process. Maybe it will continue in the next all. I used to think like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it is interesting and joyful. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Otherwise life, after some time, life begins to look meaningless.
Yeah.
And this, if we become aware of our own movements, like following integral yoga or any other such path, where we become aware of ourselves, I think then life becomes an interesting journey
Yeah.
again. That there is so much to explore, there is so much that is happening. Oh my god, this is also me. Oh my god, that was also me.
Correct.
So yeah, many surprises. Yeah.
Life becomes like a lab where I can find out things rather than whether it's good or bad. Any experience I can learn from.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
In fact, sometimes the harder experiences, the more pains they because they concentrate the energy more. No? So we get more focused
Yeah.
when there's pain.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. I think that intensity, usually our consciousness is so scattered here and there. When pain or such a challenge comes, then again a collection happens, as if I become collected again. And it gives me more intensity to go deeper or be with myself. Rather, with little pleasures of life, I see that get scattered. It's not easy to get collected. So pain comes as a reminder to be collected again. Yeah. And there is another thing that I observed, that many a times we have solutions to our problems, and we see that, oh, this happened and I was able to find a resolution. And then, without even knowing, this image of solution finder gets stuck in my mind without even knowing. I don't know. And then when I am again in some other challenge, going through a challenge, and I'm not able to find a resolution, then only I realize that I feel so ashamed or guilty or whatever. It definitely means that I expected from myself that I will find a resolution. So, this expectation is something which kind of is lurking behind every nook and corner. We don't even realize that we keep on sticking to these images about ourselves. I just realized this in myself, that that it happens that many a times it's not possible, to find a resolution. You just have to go through the whole situation, and then this feeling of shame would come, or maybe this feeling of guilt that, oh, you are not able to find a resolution, and that was also you who found a resolution. And mother, I get reminded of mother here, that when we find a solution out of our misery, it's nothing but grace. It's grace that is helping us find the resolution, actually. And it's another thing that the ego says that I was the one who was able to find the resolution. And that's why we suffer when it happens the other time, as if we are shooing the divine grace away from us. So that again, I see happening. We take this responsibility on ourselves that whatever good happened, I did it. I was the doer. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Any comments, concluding comments? We can start to wind up.
I'm just thinking of your last comment about that. I take the ego kind of takes over the doership of
Yeah.
whatever has. So I'm just thinking, maybe in one part of my life where I was suddenly getting a lot of work, I whatever, and today, if I look back at that time, I would not say कि I was getting a lot of work. I say I was working very hard.
Mm.
But now I just with your statement, I really thought, no, I was just getting work and I was just doing it. So something was in the universe which was giving me that work.
Mm. Mm.
But then I want to kind of take it as a pride. See, I was working
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, this
yeah.
happens, we do it so often. Yeah.
So maybe that was necessary for the system to receive something, and it received. And
Mm.
maybe it received something negative later because it was
Mm.
necessary for this.
Yeah.
Uh, but then it's
And
so difficult now because when we talk about ourselves, the language that we use
mm.
generally it's all about I did this, then I did this, then I did this, and
Yeah.
then this. So the very language of our everyday
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah. It's limiting in nature. Yes, you're right. I think this also I see when people ask about, just for example, having gone through cancer and all, what a few questions which are kind of, I'm confronted with many a times, as with other, I'm sure other patients also get such kind of questions that, so you treated your cancer. I think it's really sad to hear this question, as if I know what treated my cancer, and I have no idea. And I say exactly this, that it's like, first of all, it is a mixture of everything. For example, the doctor who treated me, the family and what not, I don't even know what all was, kind of all the forces acting on it, we don't even know. And how can one say that my diet has treated my cancer? I cannot say that because when I'm saying that, I'm just negating everything else which I don't even know, I'm grateful for. I don't even know that those hands worked upon me just because they were not be able to, they were not able to be seen in direct kind of in my vicinity. So I often get this question that, are you in remission? How are you sure? I say that I'm not sure. Obviously, how can I be sure? And it doesn't matter if I am sure or not. What matters is right now, what is the life that I am living? Whether it's remission, no remission, diagnosed, not diagnosed, how does it matter? Treated, untreated. If right now I am treated, yet the quality of my life is really rubbish,
mm,
how would it matter?
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we call it a day? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for a very a
Very
live
beautiful
discussion.
points, Monica.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for joining, Mohit ji, Chitra ji. Thank you. Bye, Preeti.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.